You know that feeling when you're just drowning in information and you wish someone could just, like, tell you what really matters?
Oh, yeah. Information overload.
Exactly. Well, that's what we're aiming to do today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are plunging into generative AI, specifically its real-world impact right now on the workplace.
It's moving so fast.
It really is. And our guide for this is a pretty recent working paper from the National Bureau of Economic Research. It's called Generative AI at Work.
Ah, yes. The Brynjolfsson, Lai, and Raymond paper. Good stuff.
That's the one. Eric Brynjolfsson, Danielle Lai, and Lindsay R. Raymond. And they look specifically at how a generative AI tool, like a chatbot assistant, was rolled out staggered in a big company's customer support division.
Right. Not all at once, which is important for the study design.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So our mission today, to really unpack the core findings, because honestly, there are some genuinely surprising insights here about how AI is changing jobs, well, today, not some far-off future.
It's already happening.
Okay, so maybe let's quickly set the stage. What exactly is generative AI in the context of this paper? We hear terms like machine learning, LLMs.
Right. So generative AI, it's a type of machine learning, but instead of just analyzing data, it actually creates new stuff from it. Think text, images, code.
Like it's learning patterns and then riffing on them.
Exactly. And these large language models, or LLMs, they're often the engine behind it. They learn by basically predicting the next word in a sequence, train on just massive amounts of text, think, Wikipedia, the whole internet.
Okay.
But what the paper really highlights, and what's kind of unique, is this ability of generative AI to almost absorb tacit knowledge.
Tacit knowledge.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that's hard to write down, right? Like intuition, experience.
Precisely. It's the know-how you get from just doing a job for years, stuff that's historically been super hard to automate. And this paper suggests AI is starting to crack that code.
That is a potential game changer. So where did they actually test this out? What was the setting?
Okay, so the study took place in a big company, a Fortune 500 software firm. They focused on the technical support agents who handle customer issues via chat.
Right, and these agents were mainly based in the Philippines, the paper mentioned.
Yes. And the AI tool itself, it was built on a recent version of OpenAI's GPT models. It watched the customer chats live.
So it's reading the conversation as it happens.
Yep. And then it offers suggestions to the agent, like maybe try saying this, or here's a possible solution.
But crucially, the agent decides, right?
Yeah.
It's not taking over.
Absolutely critical point. The agents have total discretion, use it, ignore it, modify it. It was designed purely to augment their abilities, not replace them.
Okay, augmenting, not replacing, got it.
And the headline finding, the really big takeaway.
Yeah.
Access to this tool boosted agent productivity measured by issues resolved per hour, or RPH, by, on average, 14%.
Wow, 14%. That's not trivial at all.
No, it's quite significant, and it's worth digging into how they got that 14%. So average handle time, how long each chat took, went down by 9%. That works out to about 3.8 minutes shorter per chat.
Faster resolution. Makes sense.
And they also saw a 14% increase in the number of chats an agent handled per hour.
Ah, so not just faster, but handling more concurrently, perhaps. Better multitasking.
Seems likely, yeah. And there was also a small bump, 1.3 percentage points, in the rate of actually resolving the customer's issue on the first go.
Okay, so faster, more throughput, slightly better resolution. But what about the customer? Did they notice? Did satisfaction drop?
That's the really crucial part. The study found, and I'm quoting here, no economically significant change in customer satisfaction. They used Net Promoter Score, NPS, to measure that.
So the company got this productivity boost without making customers less happy.
Exactly. Which, is often the big worry with new tech, right? That you gain efficiency but lose quality or the human touch. That didn't seem to happen here.
Okay, this is where it gets really counterintuitive for me, based on past tech waves.
Yeah.
Usually, computers, automation, they tend to benefit the high-skilled workers more, right? It complements their abilities, but sometimes leaves others behind, widens wage gaps.
That's been the historical pattern, certainly. More skill-biased technological change.
But this study found kind of the opposite.
Pretty much, yeah. The benefits were skewed quite dramatically towards the novice and lower-skilled workers.
How dramatic are we talking?
Well, get this. For agents in the lowest skill quintile, their productivity, that RPH measure, jumped by 34%.
34%.
And for brand new agents, like less than a month on the job, a 46% improvement.
Wow. Okay, so the beginners got a massive leg up. What about the experienced folks, the top performers?
They saw minimal impacts on their productivity. Very little change.
So what does that mean? Is the AI essentially acting like a super trainer for the newbies?
That seems to be the mechanism the paper suggests. They talk about this experience curve. Basically, new agents using the AI tool got up to speed incredibly fast.
How fast?
After just 2 months with AI assistance, these new agents were performing at the same level as agents without AI who had over 6 months of tenure.
So it's like compressing 6 months of learning into two.
Something like that, yeah. It dramatically accelerates the process of getting proficient. And if we connect this to that idea of tacit knowledge,
Right. The hard to teach stuff.
it looks like the AI model is essentially learning the best practices, the effective techniques, the communication styles from the more able, more experienced workers.
And then sharing that knowledge with everyone else.
Exactly. It's disseminating the tacit knowledge embedded in the interaction data of top performers and making it accessible to the newer or lower skilled agents through its suggestions.
Huh. So the AI learns from the best and then teaches the rest.
That seems to be the core dynamic. But there's a subtle point about those top performers.
Ah, yes. You mentioned they saw minimal impact, but was there anything else?
Well, the study did find small but statistically significant decreases in resolution rates and customer satisfaction, specifically for the most skilled agents when they use the tool.
Decreases. Why would that happen?
The paper speculates a bit. Maybe the AI suggestions, even if generally good, are sometimes a distraction for someone who already has deep expertise. Or maybe it nudges them towards a quicker, standard answer when their own judgment might have led to a slightly better, more tailored solution, even if it took longer.
Interesting. So it helps the average, but might slightly hinder the very top tier.
It's a possibility raised by the data, a potential downside or at least a complex effect for the experts.
Okay, let's dig into the how.
Hmm.
How did agents actually use this thing? Did they just blindly follow the suggestions?
No, not blindly. The adherence rate, how often they actually used a recommendation, was around 35 to 38%.
Which sounds maybe a bit low. Or is that typical?
It's actually pretty comparable to other generative AI tools. They mentioned GitHub Copilot for coding having usage rates somewhere between like 27% and 46%. So it's in the ballpark. And what's telling is that adherence increased over time, especially among workers who were initially skeptical or maybe more senior agents.
So they tried it, found it helpful, and used it more.
Seems that way. And there's a clear link. Agents who adhered more closely to the recommendations saw much bigger productivity gains. It went from about a 10% boost for low adherence up to 25% for high adherence.
So trusting the AI paid off, literally, in terms of output.
But here's what I find particularly fascinating. It wasn't just about using the tool in the moment. There's evidence of actual worker learning.
Learning. How did they measure that?
They looked at periods when the AI system went down, technical glitches, outages.
Okay, so the tool wasn't available.
Right. And they found that workers who had been using the AI before the outage still performed better during the outage than they themselves did before they ever had AI access.
Whoa. So the skill stuck, even when the assistant wasn't there.
Exactly. And the effect was stronger for those who'd used the AI longer and had higher adherence rates before the outage.
That's huge. It implies the AI isn't just a crutch. It's actually teaching durable skills.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests it could be a really powerful supplement to traditional training, which, let's be honest, like weekly coaching sessions often isn't that effective in comparison.
Yeah, definitely.
And they also looked at how the agents were communicating. Using some fancy text analysis, textual embeddings.
Comparing the chat logs.
Essentially, yes. They compared agents' chat styles after getting the AI tool to their own style before the tool, and they found a definite shift.
Meaning they weren't just typing the same things faster, their actual language changed.
Correct. Their post-AI chats were texturally less similar to their own pre-AI chats. And interestingly, the lower-skilled agents showed a bigger change in their textual style.
Following the AI's lead more, maybe? Adopting its phrasing.
That fits. And here's the kicker. When they compared the chat styles of high-skilled versus low-skilled workers who both had AI access, the similarity between them increased.
So the less skilled agents started sounding more like the high-skilled agents.
Yep. The textual similarity score went up from 0.55 to 0.61. For the control group without AI, that similarity stayed flat.
That really backs up the idea of the AI spreading best practices, doesn't it? Making everyone converge towards the more effective communication patterns.
It strongly supports that interpretation, yeah.
Okay, we've talked a lot about productivity, efficiency, skills.
Yeah.
But what about the human experience? Customer support roles are notoriously tough.
Oh, absolutely. Burnout is high. You deal with frustrated people.
And the paper mentions insane turnover rates, like 60% annually in contact centers.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge for the industry. Constant hiring, training.
So the million-dollar question, did this AI tool make the job better or worse for the agents themselves, beyond just their output?
Well, the study looked at customer sentiment expressed during the chats, and they found an immediate and persistent improvement.
Meaning the customers were nicer?
Essentially, yes. Their sentiment score improved by about 0.18 points, which the paper notes is about half a standard deviation. So, a noticeable improvement in how customers were interacting with the agents.
That alone could make the job less stressful.
You'd think so. Interestingly, they didn't see a significant change in the agent's expressed sentiment, but the paper notes agents are kind of trained to be positive anyway, so that might be a ceiling effect.
Right, their baseline politeness is already high.
But another indicator was requests to escalate the call. I want to speak to your manager.
Yeah. The dreaded escalation request.
Those decreased by almost 25%.
25% fewer escalations. That's significant. Suggests customers felt the agent was handling things better.
That's the likely interpretation, yeah. Increased customer confidence in the agent's competence right from the start.
And presumably, fewer escalations make the agent's job easier too.
Definitely less stressful. And connecting back to the skill point, these improvements, the better customer sentiment, the fewer escalations they were disproportionately seen for the less skilled or less experienced agents.
So the AI helped the newer folks handle tough situations better and project more competence.
It appears so, which leads to perhaps the most striking human impact finding.
Which is,
Employee retention, worker attrition, turnover.
did the AI help keep people in the job longer?
Significantly. Access to the AI tool was associated with a major reduction in workers quitting, especially, again, for newer agents, those with less than 6-month experience. For that group, turnover decreased by 40%.
40% reduction in turnover for new hires in an industry with 60% annual churn.
It's a massive potential impact. Think about the cost savings on recruitment and training alone.
Okay, let's try and wrap our heads around the key takeaways from this deep dive then. What have we learned?
Well, number one, generative AI, used as this kind of augmentation tool, this assistant, it can provide a real measurable boost to worker productivity.
Right, that 14% average increase.
But number two, and maybe more surprising, is who benefits most? It's disproportionately the less skilled, less experienced workers.
Yeah, it acts like an accelerator, getting them up to speed by sharing that tacit knowledge from top performers.
Exactly. It seems to capture and disseminate best practices very effectively.
And number three, it's not just about output metrics. It seems to actually improve the work environment,
Customers are interacting more positively, there are fewer escalations.
which contributes to significantly lower employee turnover, especially among those newer agents who might otherwise struggle and leave.
So productivity, skill development, and a better work experience leading to higher retention. It's a pretty compelling picture, but it does raise some interesting, maybe tricky questions for the future, doesn't it?
Like what?
Well, think about those top performers. Their expertise, their interaction data is essentially training the AI that primarily benefits other workers.
Right. They see minimal personal productivity gains, and we even saw that potential slight dip in their own resolution or satisfaction rates in some cases.
So if their compensation is based on relative performance, or if bonuses get adjusted, they could potentially lose out, even though their knowledge is powering the whole system's improvement.
That's a really important point. How do we, or how should companies, think about compensating workers, especially those top performers, for the value their data and their tacit knowledge contribute to training these AI systems?
It's a complex issue around data ownership, value creation, and fair compensation in the age of AI. No easy answers there yet.
Definitely something to think about. And maybe one final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on until our next deep dive. This study, as we said, was in technical support. It's a relatively stable environment, right? The types of problems customers have might evolve, but maybe not drastically day to day.
Fairly consistent tasks.
So what happens when you deploy this kind of generative AI in roles or industries where things are changing really rapidly, where the best practices today might be outdated tomorrow?
That's a great question. Can the AI keep up? Or could it, by relying on its historical training data, actually end up promoting practices that are no longer optimal in a fast-changing environment?
Could it reinforce outdated knowledge sometimes? Lots to consider there.
Indeed. The interaction between AI learning and the pace of change in the real world, that's going to be fascinating to watch.